For today's cup of coffee, youngest kid wanted to do a little bit of a break from the UFOs, mix it up a little bit because we do that. And he had been playing a video because that is one of the things to try to do vocal warm ups. And that was something that I would do when I was in radio because when you're supposed to be on the air at 6 a.m., you had to get up. I had to get up at like 4 in the morning, and then it took me about 45 minutes or so to get to the station. Of course, I had to make coffee because that's a requirement. And so it was a matter, and you do the rubber baby buggy bumpers, and then the
Rubber baby buggy
she
bumpers.
sells seashells.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
And it's like anymore as I've gotten older, I sound like William Shatner trying to do that.
Sean Connery. Sean Connery.
And so he had played this game grump thing. I will not, because we'll get a copyright strike. But it was just
stupid.
that is not a vocal warm up. That is, and it has. I was doing pretty good mentally.
Communicated to her.
I was doing pretty good mentally until he played that, and it was just like my brain sort of shut down.
Works for me, okay.
Oh, God. Anyhow, what we're going to be talking about today are werewolves.
Yeah.
And that was something that came into being last night after the conversation about the Men in Black and possible possession factor, and to wonder if someone who was possessed were mortally wounded, that would they, in those fleeting moments, return to their true self.
I lost a sock there for a second.
Focus.
Oh.
Focus.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was an interesting topic. So we got on the discussion of werewolves, and the first article is from website. It's called The Conversation. I would have used almost any other website had the information been as concisely written as this one. True. And
how
I will.
concise is it? Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty well written, because when you get into the Wikipedia, which was ridiculously long, because they could have done a dissertation on this.
A dissertation.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, it was. I will put the link to the Wikipedia. It's very well done if you want to get that academic with the study of werewolves. So, and I think most of us have seen movies pertaining to werewolves, everything from Lon Chaney.
Werewolf in London.
Lon Chaney's The Werewolf, or The Wolfman, the best.
Werewolves.
That was just the best. Well, that song by Warren Zevon is a classic.
Werewolves.
It doesn't matter how old that song gets; it's still very pertinent. But anyhow, this article is entitled "The Ancient Origins of Werewolves," and it's by Beth Daly and was written October the 28th of 2018, which I'm sure that probably prompted this subject. For those of us that Halloween is year-round, it doesn't have to be...
Every day's Halloween!
It doesn't have to be a particular day.
Every day's Halloween for us.
And I'm just going to read snippets of this. Some of the snippets are longer than others. Okay, it says, the earliest surviving example of man-to-wolf transformation is found in the Epic of Gilgamesh from around 2100 BC. However, the werewolf as we know it first appeared in ancient Greece and Rome in ethnographic, poetic, and philosophical text.
Ethnographic.
That's one of those recent liberal arts words.
I don't even know what that means.
Exactly. These stories of the transformed beasts are usually mythological, although some have a basis in local histories, religions, and cults. In 425 BC, Greek historian Herodotus described the Nuri, a nomadic tribe of magical men who changed into wolf shapes for several days of the year. The Nuri were from Scythia, land that is now part of Russia. Using wolf skins for warmth is not outside the realm of possibility for inhabitants of such a harsh climate. This is likely the reason Herodotus described the practice as transformation. And I do believe that in some of the more recent movies and stuff about werewolves, and it may have been in some of the underworld movies that they did mention as far as Scythia. Some of those movies like that are pretty well researched as far as the folklore and stuff. Okay, the werewolf myth became integrated with local history of Arcadia, a region of Greece. Here, Zeus was worshipped as Wolf Zeus, like in Zeus.
Wolf Zeus.
You're not helping my
Zeus
focus.
of wolves.
In 380 BC, Greek philosopher Plato told a story in the Republic of the protector turned tyrant of the shrine of Lycian Zeus. In this short passage, so you've done it to me. You've done it to me.
Short passage.
In this short passage, the character Socrates remarks, the story goes into he who tastes of the one bit of human entrails minced up with those of other victims is inevitably transformed into a wolf.
Tasty.
So this is why I've had to put a mature content thing on there, because
Cannibalism.
yeah, a little bit of cannibalism. People get really bent out of shape
That's
when you
how
talk about
Wendigos-
cannibalism.
That's how Wendigos come to be, is cannibalism.
That's how Kuru happens too.
Well, that too.
It's a thing. It's a thing. We could do
Maybe
that.
Maybe that's why those things exist. It's because of Kuru.
Well,
They've
they
gone
possibly
crazy.
could. They, you know,
holes in their brain.
you ate something that's forbidden and then you get brain rot. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can too.
Okay. Literary evidence suggests
Let's go
cult.
deep fry some entrails.
Literary evidence suggests cult members mixed human flesh into their ritual sacrifice to Zeus. Both Pliny the Elder and someone else discussed the participation of a young athlete, DeMarcus. I do better with Latin than I do Greek. Greek still messes me up.
God, are you good?
In the Arcadian sacrifice of an adolescent boy. When DeMarcus was compelled to taste the entrails of the young boy, he was transformed into a wolf for 9 years. Recent archaeological evidence suggests that human sacrifice may have been practiced at this site. And for those of you who are grammar experts and want to rebuke me for my Latin and Greek pronunciations.
Sorry. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
It's like,
We're trying.
try to do that with mountain accent and see how it works for you.
She's trying. Hey, I don't have it. I don't have the mountain accent.
Hey, let me tell you something. When I took medical terminology,
it's not my fault.
I took medical terminology, a whole semester of it. I excelled in the class, but we had to do where we pronounced the words in front of the professor. And he sort of looked at me and he said, "That's correct. I've never heard it spoken exactly like that, but you are correct." So, there you go. Back to the article. The most interesting aspect of Plato's passage concerns the protector turned tyrant, also known as the mythical king Lycian. Expounded further in Latin texts, most notably Hyginus' Fabulae and Ovid's Metamorphoses, Lycan's story contains all the elements of a modern werewolf tale: immoral behavior, murder, and cannibalism. In Fabulae, the sons of Lycian sacrificed their youngest brother to prove Zeus's weakness. They must have hated the younger brother, but anyhow.
Yeah, they might have.
They served the corpse as a pseudo-feast and attempting to trick the god into eating it. A furious Zeus slayed the sons with a lightning bolt and transformed their father. You've messed me up for life. And transformed their father into a wolf. In Ovid's version, Lycian murdered and mutilated a protected hostage of Zeus, but suffered the same consequences. Ovid's passage is one of the only ancient sources that goes into detail on the act of transformation. His description of the metamorphosis uses haunting language that creates a correlation between Lycian's behavior and the physical manipulation of his body. Quote, he tried to speak, but his voice broke into an echoing howl. His ravening soul infected his jaws. His murderous longings were turned on the cattle. He still was possessed by bloodlust. His garments were changed to a shaggy coat and his arms into legs. He was now transformed into a wolf. Well, that's pretty much modern day wolf mythology.
You reminded me of Billie Eilish there for a second. He tried to speak. He tried to scream, but his head was underwater.
That's the sound of my soul every day. Ovid's Lycian is the origin of the modern werewolf, as the physical manipulation of his body hinges on his prior immoral behavior. It is this that has contributed to the establishment of the monstrous werewolf trope of modern fiction. And you can still hear, and this is where you can really hear the liberal degree coming out.
The establishment.
Lycan's character defects are physically grafted onto his body and manipulating his human form until he becomes that which his behavior suggests. And perhaps most importantly, Lycian begins the idea that to transform into a werewolf, you must first be a monster. I didn't even bother reading the last paragraph on this because it was just obnoxious. So I will tell you when I put this link.
Obnoxious. That's what I'm.
When I put this link there, read at your own risk.
Yeah.
And like
sorry,
I said, if I
have to laugh at this one.
The information as far as the history of the mythology of the werewolf, and I use the word mythology very loosely. Mythology does not mean made up.
Right, it's just the, legend of it, whatever.
Right. It's the same thing as a legend. Every legend has a basis in reality.
Exactly, yeah.
So, but as far as...
Like, there's always truth to some jokes.
Well, yeah,
a lot of
some
jokes.
of it. Some of it. It depends on the joke.
Yeah.
It depends on the delivery of the joke. You really need this. I've got extra Stratera. I should have.
That's called drug distribution. I don't want it.
I didn't do it. It's Stratera.
She didn't give me it. I refuse.
It is not a classified
Listen,
drug.
It's not my fault. The clinic is dragging their feet on it. I have to go to Bristol to speak to that.
Oh, that's right. You have that Monday. Anyhow.
Yeah.
And from...
that's right. You do have to do that, don't you? Yes.
And from Mysterious Universe, we have Nick Redfern. And Joe, thank you so much. For some reason, I don't know.
Hi, Joe.
Why that, where the red fern grows, just totally passed me by on dude's name.
Where the wild roses grow.
No, that's a different thing.
But
But Mr. Redfern, would you stop it? The beatings will now begin.
Ow!
Okay.
Ow.
This Mr. Redfern had written this August the 23rd of 2020. And this is odd. Even by my standards, this is kind of odd. And this article is entitled A Cult of the Werewolf, A Strange and Sinister Story.
We loves it.
And I'm not going to read, well, I am going to read some of it verbatim.
I'm not going to
I guess I am. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I am. Something that I found out today, that werewolves are now popularly known as dogmen.
Who the hell calls them dogmen?
I guess
unless it's a joke.
The same people that call Bigfoot woodbugger. I have never heard of anybody refer to a werewolf as a dogman.
If it's one Sasquatch, it's Bigfoot. If it's multiple Sasquatch, it's Big Feet.
No, they actually still say Bigfoots.
Big Feet.
They say
Big feet.
Bigfoots. I'm telling you.
Do they have one foot or is it two?
That was what-
They got big feet.
Well, you said it was
Big feet.
octopuses.
Yes,
Instead
that's
of
how it is.
octopi.
It's octopuses instead of octopi. Octopi sounds better. It sounds a lot better. It sounds proper, but no, the actual Grammarly Correct. Correct term for that is octopuses.
It's cacti. It's cactus.
But it's
and
not
cacti.
cactuses.
If it's octopus, why would it not be octopi? It's fungus and fungi.
Why is it mice instead of mouses?
Well, that's true. You've got house and mouse, but you've got houses and mice.
Why isn't houses
Heis.
heis?
Because our language is screwed up, just like
The
everything
English
else.
language is fucked
All right.
up.
Now, within this legend of the dog men,
Werewolf.
Mr. Redfern had said in late
Werewolf.
2003,
Werewolf.
an extremely weird and controversial story surfaced in Australia's media. It appeared in the pages of Queensland's Sunday Mail.
Of course it's Australia. They got everything deadly over there.
In a feature with the title of "Cult Told My Son He Was a Werewolf." And
Said cult and it's just immediately clocked out like that. Of course they did. Of course they did. All cults are out of their mind.
it doesn't last. I don't have to read much longer. I don't. I really don't.
I just love this one because I actually get to have fun with this one.
This
more.
is true. This is true. Anyhow, from this article, Cult Told My Son He Was a Werewolf, quote...
Why does that sound like a bad, cheesy B movie?
It does. It really does. Quote, a quasi-religious cult is using the internet to recruit teenagers who are encouraged to act as werewolves, howl at the moon, and eat raw meat. Counselors at the Cult Information Hotline. Such a thing exists.
God, this movie's so bad they're going to start throwing rotten people at the screen.
Have received several complaints about the group. Why doesn't America have a Counselors at the Cult Information Hotline?
I don't know. It's Australia. Everything's
Anyhow.
fucked up over there.
Which has, all right, complaints
He
about the
loves it,
group,
though.
which has more than 50 members throughout Queensland. Counselors and concerned parents said complaints had been made to police and government authorities about the activities of cult members in housing commission properties. Is that like low income? Is that like Sin City down here?
I guess, I don't know. They got kangaroos that box over there. They
That
got
has
boxing
nothing
kangaroos.
to do. They don't live in houses. The article
Some of them do.
The article continued and revealed how a mother in the Australian city of Brisbane discovered, to her horror, that her teenage son had become immersed in the world of the Australian werewolf. She wasted no time in contacting social workers attached to Queensland's Health. One of those social
Help
workers.
him.
Now, how do you explain to somebody a job title on that?
I don't know.
Okay.
What kind of job?
One of those social workers, David Ward, God love him, offered his help to the young man and his mother and said, quote, my concern is these kids believe they can turn into werewolves and start eating raw meat, which makes them sick.
In
The-
all levels, physical,
The teenager
and
I spoke to a couple of times who is living with this group is just your average adolescent. There's a myth that says there must be something wrong with these children or they come from a broken home. This boy was going through normal adolescent stuff. They go through an identity crisis where they wonder who they are and they're vulnerable. Now again, this was written in 2003 when people actually understood the different stages of development that kids go through.
Uh-huh.
As for the boy's mother, she provided the following on how her son became immersed in such a strange group. My son had been studying really hard at school. He was very quiet, and I suggested he join a computer group. The boy decided to do exactly that, and was soon in the grip of werewolves, so to speak. The mother continued.
Has exposed him to the online world.
Yeah. A young man then kept ringing us, wanting my son to come out, and within 3 weeks he was part of the group. This fellow started to stalk us at night. He'd start howling like a werewolf at midnight outside our house, which frightened the other kids. My son left and moved into a house with this fellow and another bloke. They would dress up in costumes like wolves and take my son on a leash to South Bank. I think that's another
That's a kink.
proclivity.
That's a kink.
And the media started.
Fucking furry! You fucking furries!
Hey, now that was the end of the quote on that. The media stated that the young man's mother, quote again, still maintains weekly telephone contact with her son, who has joined other cult members interstate. She said she had become concerned about his health after he joined the group several months ago. End quote. As for David Ward, he stated, the police can't do anything about these groups. It's not as if they're breaking the law. The mother will have to wait until her son comes to his senses. It could take 2 months or 2 decades, depending on the person.
Someone call my strange addiction and get him to talk to that person that was like, on all levels of the physical, I am a wolf.
Well, this goes
What the
back.
hell was wrong with him?
This goes back to what we discussed several cups ago, which was the otherkin. And it was interesting because that was probably the least watched video of this series.
God.
Because people don't want, and it
God.
wasn't like it was a pro or con. It was simply a discussion of, why do people why are they not happy just being human? And are there
Would you want to stay human?
And are there people that are people but not quite, that they could be some kind of spiritual hybrid?
I'm sorry, I would rather go live with the gnomes if they're real.
That's a different cup. I gotta
live with the fairies and the mermaids.
Those are different cups.
Sirens.
That goes into another book that was the Mythical Creatures encyclopedia they got.
We loves it.
It's really, really cool. That was That was a good investment on my part. So I just haven't delved into that yet. We were going to do lycanthropy. And they decided to call it lycanthropy because that sounded more sophisticated than werewolf.
How about this? I'm going to go back to Myrtle Beach. I'm going to live in the ocean. I'm going to be a male siren. How about that?
You actually could do one of those music things to sleep to at night on YouTube because they don't have male vocals on those yet.
That's stupid. Why?
Because the world is stupid. I'll tell you something, the werewolves make a hell of a lot more sense to me than some of these other idiocies. Well, why would people not want to be human? Because they feel that they don't fit in. When you have other people, it becomes sort of like a secret club type thing. You're not part of us. You're we know something you don't know. It's like secret handshakes and this has been going on forever. Let's go and look at college sororities and fraternities. Is it not the same thing in essence?
I guess it is the same thing.
I would rather deal with a werewolf any day.
I personally would not, because I don't want my face chewed off. If I want my face chewed off, Skinwalker, come get me.
You've never
Wendigo, come get me.
This shows you have never been around sorority chicks.
I've never went to college. I've never graduated high school, let alone college.
The kid had learning challenges. But anyhow, let me tell you something. You would stand a better chance of survival with the werewolf than sorority chicks. And those who have experienced it, let me know in the comments whether or not I'm accurate.
I don't know. I never went to college.
Like I said, it's
Not to say one day I won't go to college, but
that's like they knocked on our door freshman year, and they're like, we had the Greek letters on our door from previous tenants, and they're like, "Oh, are you a little sister?" And I looked at them and said, "No, I'm an only child."
Dang.
They left us alone after that. Of course,
Is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Patrick.
No, it was one of those that we did that on purpose. Of course, then when they found out that we were the rednecks in the corner and that I had the Jack Daniels bottles all across the top of my shelf, they sort of left us alone.
Hey, those Jack Daniel bottles can actually look pretty damn cool.
And then there was the episode where I forgot and left the machete under the bed that one time. And
Oh.
that was a different story, but that's not the paranormal.
Watch out, Mom's gonna be the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre killer.
No, that wasn't what it was.
No, not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The next Jason.
No.
You know, it actually was the mother. It wasn't Jason. It was the mother.
Mm-hmm.
In the original, maybe.
Well, I would only resort to that. I don't know any machete kata, but, you know.
You just slice and hack. Do you think he knew how to
I'm joking. So, werewolves, are they a thing
love
or
horror
not?
movies.
We're going to do, as far as, there were several other accounts of werewolves, and I don't know if I can bring myself to call them dog men.
God. No,
So-
I couldn't. I like werewolf a lot better.
But I did find quite a few of werewolf accounts, sightings, which falls into, does that fall into cryptids?
Technically, I guess you could say, but that's more mythological creatures. But then again, the cryptids are
Mythological creatures.
Yeah, so I guess in technicality that would be considered a cryptid.
Maybe they're just in a category all of their own,
Maybe.
as far
I mean,
as...
vampires in technicality are cryptids as well. So why wouldn't
Are
werewolves?
They? I don't know that they... Are those cryptids? I don't think
In
those are
technicality.
cryptids.
In technicality, they are, but people don't usually associate them with cryptids
Okay.
because there isn't that many real sightings of,
Like I said, as far as the
vampires
cryptids-
or werewolves.
Cryptids, I think of seriously as your skinwalkers and wendigos and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and chupacabras and those types of more animal-based.
Pixies could be considered cryptids as well.
That's
Think of
in with
fairies.
fairy folk.
Yeah, but it's technically considered cryptids as well.
Who said that?
It's
just what
I've done my research on.
Okay.
In technicality, I didn't say that they were considered that. I said in technicality.
Okay. We'll have to categorize all this stuff.
Why not just be like, it's safe, maybe you shouldn't fuck with it. You definitely don't want to fuck with it. Stay the fuck away from it.
Any of this stuff that we're talking about, I
Oh,
wouldn't
you
mess
bitch, you
with.
better run. that sort of classification. Why can't we have that?
Now, we're the people that have had to study exorcism and didn't ever want to.
That was your choice on buying the book of The Exorcist and
Oh,
then
no.
having Squeaker scare the piss out of you.
Oh,
You know?
that had nothing to do with that. That had to do with what are you supposed to do? If you got a problem, you try to find a solution. If you got somebody that's possessed, you try to learn how to do exorcism.
You might have to do an
That or
exorcism on
set the-
Squeaker then. He's the
set-
one sitting behind you like a gargoyle.
I mean, do you let them sit there and waller in their own filth? No. You try to get them
I
out
don't
of
know.
the
If
filth.
someone was spraying pea soup at me, I would be like, oh no, fuck you.
You've never had children of your own before. Trust me.
I
You
would point them at the wall.
You were my exorcist child. There is no time to point. It
Be like,
just, no.
shaken baby syndrome.
It
You gotta
just-
be quick with
No,
it.
you learn that most things clean up with soap and water, and what doesn't, a little bit of bleach will take care of.
This is why I would be a horrible parent.
So,
This is why I don't want kids.
this is a random video on werewolves.
We loves it.
We do loves it, and we could have fun with this. So,
Yeah.
if you please,
It's an entertaining video.
it's supposed to be entertainment. This is the whole basis of this, is to let people ponder, let them have an outlet to share their personal experiences, their theories, whatever.
Yeah. And I'll
So,
be a lot calmer when I get my medication.
oh God, please let it be seen. So if you,
We were supposed to go get my medicine today.
oh well, forgot that. We'll get that
I
tomorrow.
guess I'm gonna have a double dose tonight.
It'll be all right. It's the same stuff, just take two instead of one.
Oh yeah. Antidepressants.
Anyhow, that is not the problem. It's not the problem. I try to
It's part of the
explain to
problem.
them that
You're
it's
right, it's
not
got
the
me.
problem.
I could be manic depressive.
No, you're not manic depressive. Anyhow, you don't fit the criteria for that. Sorry. You know,
We'll see.
in theory, because I don't have the right letters after my name, I can't say for a fact that it's okay. So if you all,
Watch my therapist. My new therapist will will classify me as manic depressive.
I
bet
don't
you.
think so. Well, that's what they call bipolar nowadays.
Oh,
Anyhow,
I bet.
you're not, anyhow. We're rambling. But
It's
hopefully it's amusing rambling.
Hopefully.
It's something that you can listen to as you're driving to work, doing the dishes, shaving the cats, whatever. So, and ponder great ponderings.
Reaching into the pond for golf balls.
That's true too. Just, put your
Noodle fishing.
Put your earbuds in and just have at it.
Stick your hand into the hole and get the catfish. It's fine.
Yeah, really. And
Don't go noodle fishing. It's horrible. Someone got their hand bit by a snapping turtle.
Well, yeah, because you don't put your hands where you can't see. That's just common sense 101. If you've had
People from
encounters
this area that did it.
with the paranormal or supernatural, if you've had experiences with UFOs, aliens, if you have had dealings with cryptids, with werewolves, Bigfoot,
Big feet.
Wendigos,
Big feet.
no deers.
Not deer. It's not. It's no deers. Not deer. It's a not deer.
Well, we got no deers right now.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Greys.
Well, I said
Pixies.
aliens, UFOs.
Fairies,
Any of that
the
stuff.
fae.
If you have local legends that you would like to
Witches.
share, if you would have, now you're going to get the Wiccans after you on that. If you've had, as far as, I told you about that woman that witched me that time, right?
No, you didn't.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
gonna have to tell me after
Yeah,
this.
that wasn't fun.
That's
Anyhow,
what you wear your evil eye.
anyhow, any of that stuff, send to cupofcoffeewithscream at gmail.com. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Subscribe.
And
Subscribe.
most of these are usually amusing. This is not your standard fare for videos.
Pretty soon we will have more high production videos coming soon, so stay tuned to that.
Oh, good. That was something I was not aware of. Anyhow, we had discussed the possibility, but since I am technologically challenged,
The new channel logo is in the process of making. I just gotta hook up my other computer and do it. That's all.
well, the channel logo right now was a kid he did a jack-o'-lantern
It was Pumpkin
several
Guy.
years back, and I loved it, and I still love it.
It's a replica of Pumpkin Guy
But
from
it's-
J.I. Mathers.
But it is your art. It is your interpretation that was inspired by.
Yeah, because there will never be another Pumpkin Guy, but
No.
it was close.
But it was just, I love that, and that's the reason I chose that logo. But he is going to do a specific one.
Yeah.
And I understand that the channel name is a little lengthy. And kids said that there were some that were much longer than
Oh, yeah.
Orlando's Cup of Coffee with Scream.
Mom, there's literally people who has the screen name of Nicki Minaj's left big toe.
That's disturbing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
The internet exposes you to a lot of shit.
Let me go live with the werewolves. Anyhow, vampires were more my genre. But you all have a wonderful day filled with myths and legends and wonderment, and never lose that childlike ability to ponder and to see magic and miracles all throughout the day.
Live life through the eyes of a child.
Absolutely.
Have that sense of wonder.
Yep. You all have a
Wonderment.
beautiful, blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.
Big feet.